Well, I finally made it. Sorry about that. If you were waiting on me, oops, let me take it off there. If you were waiting on me, you were wasting time. I had 2 loaves of sandwich bread in the oven, and I had to give them some extra time. I'm not ignoring you, I'm trying to fix this. Let's see. It's this, it's working out this Facebook stuff to make sure. Oh, bother. To make sure that it gets out. I don't know why I struggle so with getting getting Facebook to talk to StreamYard, and then to find out if they are actually talking. Daggone, where is it? It should be right here. I'm sorry. This is really rude for me looking down like this. But I wanted to follow. I'm funny this way. I wanted to follow it on my phone to make sure it was actually running like it's supposed to be, and see if I'm missing anybody or anything. You guys got to be saying hello. Hello, good morning, Philippine Nomad. It's actually 10 o'clock in the morning here. Oh, I hope you're not seeing these. I fight with Facebook every time I do this. There's always something that it does that I don't like. So I'm glad that you joined. Is it morning or evening over there? It's probably, let me guess, late afternoon. I don't know what the time difference is between here and there. Actually, I don't actually know that you're in the Philippines either. Oh, can't post comments to some destinations. That's not. Some destinations won't get comments. This thing drives me crazy. Absolutely drives me crazy. And I apologize for this side being too much brighter. Northern Highlands of Luzon. We're oh, it's almost midnight. Daggone, you're up late. Now that as the daylight hours are shifting a little bit, I've got a lot of sunlight coming in this window, this is my breakfast room. And until I get the bunker or my other office set up right, this is what we're stuck with for a little while. I keep saying that and I keep not getting it done. It's one of those perpetual checklist things that you just never get done. I'm glad to have you, Philippine Nomad, and I hope you find something interesting in today. I don't do a terribly scripted video. I do have an outline of some things I like to talk about, topics that I like to talk about, but generally I'm still working on this. I've only been podcasting since October and videoing, doing live videos on through StreamYard on YouTube and stuff. So I'm still getting my sea legs, as they say, on some of this, but I'll take the audio from here and upload it to Fountain under the Holstein House podcast. So if you do, and it also goes to a lot of the other ones. So if you want to listen to it on the podcast, you can do it that way too. So feel free to chime in, ask whatever you want to ask. There's not going to usually be, haven't started any live content or much recorded for that, but just, I kind of bristled. I was talking to someone about that one time and they said, you just do it. And I get nervous. I want everything to be just so, and then then I get it's what's the phrase? Perfection is the enemy of the good, or yeah, I think it's how it is. So I set this little corner up and here in the breakfast room, and I don't let anything change right now. And I make sure before the broadcast that I've got a little extra light on this side or the overhead light on. I turn the light off in the kitchen area because usually I'm doing stuff. There's canning pots and jars and stuff going on back there. So what I was doing just before this kicked off, I was taking out a couple of loaves of sandwich bread out of the oven, and my oven's really old. It's a 1950s something Magic Chef, and it's really, really particular. And sometimes it doesn't like to brown stuff, but it likes to burn the bottom. So that's what I was running into today. I got up really early because I didn't sleep well, and I made 2 bowls of sourdough bread, and I pulled them just before the bottoms got burnt, and they're cooling now. And then I mixed up the sandwich bread and had it in the oven. And I've got some sourdough discard uh, crackers dough in the refrigerator waiting until things settle down a little bit. I'll make some crackers because I've got a ton of sourdough starter discard that. Anyway, what handheld radio do you have or plan to use? I have a Baofeng, but I don't remember the number. It's kind of like the really, if you get a hold of your local guy, you say, "I want to start doing this," and he says, "Here." So that's what it is. It's in the other room on the charger. So I don't remember the exact number for it. That does, but you do bring up. I've been trying to study, and I've been doing some online an audio book on the on one of the tests. That runs through. It's kind of like how they do, the way I understand, kind of like how they do the exam or exam pre-exam study thing. It gives you questions. It gives you a series of answers. You pick one. It tells you why it's right or wrong and all those things. I forget the name of it right off, but I've been trying to play it in the background a lot. I finally found that we do have a class coming up in February. If I haven't waited too long, because they fill up really quick because they don't usually have too many seats. If I haven't waited too long, I'm going to try to do it. I think it's the 23rd. I won't swear to it because it's on a Saturday, but I think it's the 23rd, and they'll have the local group will have a pre-exam um, study and test review, and then they'll have the test right after. So I want to do that. I've got to get that number. What is that number that I got to get? That's not right. Oh, the FCC registration number. What is that? FRN. I think that's what it's called. I got to get that FRN before I go to the class because they want that so that when you go to take the test that you have all that done. I have the website up, but I haven't done it yet. So it'll take a lot. I just listening to the audiobook, it's a real struggle for me. I don't have a grasp of radio, the internal workings of a radio, and it's a little hard for me to understand all of that detail about the frequencies and waves and hertz and megahertz, and these channels go here and these channels go there. It just gets overwhelming for me. But I think that's it's been a lifelong learning issue for me because I get very overwhelmed easily when it comes to advanced mathematic type things, numeric things. I've had trouble with it since middle school or junior high. When I went, it was called junior high. I really struggled with math, and also struggled because when I went on to college, you have to have, the algebra, and I just really, really struggled with that. So, and I know that the technician class, it's not the detailed, you know, on the math, but it really makes me nervous. So I'm not sure how well that's going to come across. The guy that's doing the audiobook, and it's his book, I guess he's reading it. He has a hard copy book as well, but he said before he started, was it section 3? I can't remember now if it was section 3 or not. He said that you could miss all of the calculations and still pass the test if you got all the rest of it right. But it's based on the older test, the test that ended in, I guess, June of last year. I guess every so often they revise the exam. And so I'm not real sure now, if what I'm studying is going to be worth it or not. I'm liable to get in there and it not be anything like what I'm thinking. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And maybe we can connect up on that if I learn how to do all that and get the right antennas and all the stuff. It's hard to get signal up out of these valleys, I'll tell you. But I'm glad to have you. I'm glad to have you. So, for the podcast, this is episode 31. I've been podcasting since about October, mostly on Tuesdays, sometimes on Fridays. I was trying to do a Tuesday, Thursday thing, and Thursdays just wasn't working out. I've done a couple of specials, a Christmas special, an Armistice Day special. I've done a couple interviews of some friends, and that went fairly well. So I've got a little more than 31, but as far as actual podcast episodes, it's 31. And today I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some short videos that I've done and uploaded, my ham technician exam that's coming up, which I've kind of already talked about. I don't know there's a whole lot more to say on that. Birthday month promo code for Holstein House. I may have mentioned that last time. I want to say that again for those who may not have heard it. A new guest that's coming in February. I've got the commitment. We're working on the date this week, and I hope to have that in place by Friday. Bible study, church services, and some other kind of stuff like that. And if I don't see your comments right away, hang tight. I'm going to try to look for them and make sure that I get everybody covered, because sometimes the ones from Facebook don't show up right. And I don't know if it's a connection issue on my part or if it's a connection issue on their part. I know it's streaming to my personal page. I don't know about Holstein House. It should be. And it's streaming to the YouTube page. But it's episode 31 of the Holstein House podcast. And I don't know what episode it would be for my YouTube page, Robin Holstein. And I do have a playlist for Holstein House. But as far as the actual podcast, we stream it up out of Podbean. It goes everywhere, and our favorite spot is fountain.fm, part of the Value for Value network of things. Also available on the Apple Podcast, on Google, Podbean, obviously, Spotify, Amazon Music, but I haven't tried to find it on Amazon Music. TuneIn, iHeart, Player, Listen Notes, and Samsung. So I hope you will subscribe. I hope you will click like, the thumbs up button, share it to some of your friends, and boost it if you're on one of the programs that you can do that. And if you find anything that I say is entertaining, is educational, or even maybe makes you a little bit angry, go ahead and share that with the Value for Value setup. So I was this morning, I was kind of catching up on some Telegram. I'm not real good with Telegram either. I am so old school. A lot of this newfangled stuff you kids are into today, it takes me a little while to figure out what's going on. But I mean, Telegram's not that hard to figure out. It's hard to find. For me, it's hard to find groups. So if you haven't heard somebody say, then you can't really find it very well. I had trouble finding one this morning. Finally did. Got hooked up. It's good. And then I started thinking, how in the world did I come? Because Toolman Tim was my introduction to um, the Telegram app. We were having some trouble with email. My email was going into his spam folder, and there was a couple things that were delayed because of that. And he said, just let me know on Telegram, and here's my handle there. And I started looking around there and started poking around, started hearing other people talking about it and getting connected there. And then I started thinking, last night there was a program, the Lots Project, on YouTube, and I'd heard, how all this stuff snowballs and rabbit holes. You hear of someone, you watch their YouTube, or you find them somewhere else, and they mention something. You think, oh, I want to. What is that? And then you go and look, and I come across the Lots Project, and he had a little event yesterday evening, and I got to thinking, how in the world they do so many neat things. How in the world did I get connected up with these people? And I was trying to chase back, how I got involved, and I really can't say involved because I'm not that involved. I'm kind of on the sideline looking at the field of play. But how did I get to the game? And I think because I had been doing a word search for uh, not just homestead, but home gardening and backyard chicken kind of things, and ducks and all these other things on YouTube. And I come across, I think the very first one I came across in this group of people, in the self-reliance group of people, was permaculture pastures, I think. And from there, I saw one of their videos, or one of the interviews where they were with Nicole Sauce, Living Free in Tennessee, and with John Willis. And I'm not sure if Jack Spirko was part of that one, because I'm not sure if it was one of the events, the recordings for one of the events or not. But I would hear these names and I'd hear these comments, and I heard this conversation, and I thought, hey, I'm very interested in that. And so I ended up going and clicking and joining and following and all those kind of things, all the way through there until I am here now, which isn't saying a whole lot other than, okay, yeah, here I am. And it was just interesting to think back, what all I was doing, how I got here. And it's just been in a matter of a few months, because this is the middle towards the end of January. I started my podcast and doing more on YouTube in around September, October. So it was around August or so, July, August timeframe, that I started picking up and started listening and watching a lot of these folks. And it actually rolled out from some of the home canning and food preparation, because I dehydrate, I freeze, I do all of these things for food preparation, and I was watching a lot of those, and it just kind of rolled downhill there. So it's just been a very interesting look back, no further than I've come, at what all I've been doing. So I recently, just in the past week, I've uploaded a couple. Well, some of them are. I've uploaded several videos, but some of them are scheduled to release later. Some of them are kind of short. I'm trying to work on my short term. Lord have mercy. Short form videos. I'm rather long winded. I go around before I get to the point. It's hard for me to chop out because I feel like all of the background is necessary when it's really not. But so I'm working on the short form to I've got a couple things up on TikTok here right before it goes away, before the government shuts it down. Um, but I put one up yesterday on TikTok, and it's under my name right now because I'm still just feeling my way around it. I might put one up specifically for Holstein House and just upload duplicates or something, and then back off the personal one and just because I want to advertise the B&B, the small B, because it's very small. I'm not going to be in the big glossy magazines and stuff. So, um, but I'm wanting to get some promotion of it going. So I put one up yesterday. It's very crude it's not polished. It's not well done, not crude as in language, because I try not to do that. But it's just very simply, it's a 30-second. I was proud of myself for getting it to 30 seconds. And it's just a little short video that says, make sure you can find me. If something happens and we're canceled, we're here. I've got the YouTube page, and I've got the Facebook page, and I've got the Rumble page. I mean, I've got all of these links put up with an image so that people can write it down if they want to. And if the government takes down the U.S. access to TikTok, if there's anybody that really cares on there that cares to follow, then they'll have a way to write that down and chase me down and find me. So I was another one of the little ones is it's just very simply changing the water filter in my refrigerator. It's not hard at all, but you know what? There's been a lot of times that some of my younger family members have been bumfuzzled about how to do very, very simple, basic things. And you would think it wouldn't be that difficult to figure out how to change the filter in your refrigerator, but it can be. So one of the things you have to do is you have to mash it in before you then it releases and you can take it out. And then you reverse that. When you put it in the little slot it goes into, you push it in until it clicks, and then it just bumps out just a tad. But it's amazing how people need to know that stuff. But I put up, I may have told you this on Friday. I put up a video. Actually, I did 3, and one went live last week. One's going live on Friday, and the last one will go live on. I know I told you on the next Friday. On the 3 meals out of my cookbook that I did. So the breakfast one went up on last week. The lunch one will go up this week. And I kind of staggered them. So some of them are going some of them on Rumble are live now. Some of them are scheduled for YouTube later. Some of them are live on YouTube. Some are scheduled on Rumble. I don't get a lot of interaction over at Rumble. Of course, I don't have a big following anyway. But I only get 3 or 4 people on Rumble at all. And I've been on there for a long time, since they started talking about it. Let's see. Philippine Nomad has a lot of questions, which is fine. But I want to find out, where did I leave off? Answered that one. Oh, ham testing was halted. Yeah, you're right. It was. Podbean and your last bean video. Oh, yeah. So the bean video, I did do a bean video because John Willis over on SOE, he has a lot of good business information, and I try to filter out his strong language. He gets kind of testy if you mention that to him. I've noticed. I haven't mentioned it to him. I don't know him that well, but I've watched him when other people have made comments, and he gets kind of upset. But I can ignore most of that because it's not directed at me. But I ordered some stuff for family members for Christmas from there for folks that I thought would enjoy a couple things. And so I get their text messages, And so he's doing a promotion. Well, they were. I don't know if I don't think they're still doing it. He was doing a promotion and a giveaway um, related to beans. And if you made an order and you put this code Bean Day in there, and they would send you some beans. And when you got your order, you were supposed to do something with the beans and video it. Well, I don't have my order yet, and I had messaged him on Instagram and said, I'd love to participate, but here's my order number. I ordered and I qualified, but it hasn't even shipped yet. So he said, just do something and put it up there. So I did, and I made taco soup with beans. I didn't make chili with beans because I thought that would be too controversial. But I did a taco soup which has several different types of beans in it. So yeah, pod bean in my last bean video. Not on Facebook, so Telegram's on my main social. I understand that I'm overstretched with the number of socials that are out there, and I'm just trying to feel out which ones are going to work. I can't do them all. I can't do them all. I know you can pay for it because I was years ago when it was first starting, when Hootsuite, I don't know if you've heard of Hootsuite, but when Hootsuite was $5 a month, I was on Hootsuite for $5 a month, and I was sending out information. There were several other ones. I almost said social oomph and something else. Can't remember now, but that you could do that for free. Hootsuite you could do for free, I think 1 or 2 accounts. And then if you paid $5 a month, you could do 5 or 6 accounts, which I didn't need that many. But I have several different little projects going on, and so I needed more than 2. Well, I rode that $5 a month for years. And then a couple years ago, I don't remember if it was before or after the lockdowns, I got a notice that, grandfathered accounts were being done away with. And now it was $60 a month. And I'm like, nope, not going to do that. Nope, not going to pay that kind of money. But you can pay and have the ability to blast stuff out to just about every known social app out there, but they're not all for me. So what I'm doing is I'm a very small. I started in 2017 on Airbnb renting, or I say renting, but Airbnb the extra room here in the house. And so I've tried to expand it a little bit. And I'm trying to, I do direct books because Airbnb siphons some off, and I get it. I don't need a lecture on it. I understand it. But I'm still there. I still have a presence there, and a lot of people still trust it. So I still get a lot of business that way. And then I have the chickens and I have the ducks. And during the season, I have a small backyard garden. Like I said, I dehydrate. I don't freeze dry. I can't rationalize the cost of the freeze dryer, my time, and the utilities and maintenance and stuff on one when I can, unfortunately, just buy it already done. When I look at the time savings and the cost of me having to do it that way, I just don't see a benefit in buying that. I've already got the other stuff. So I don't have to buy anything new. Excuse me, about got the hiccups. Yeah, lots. Yeah, 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, that was fun. And I've never seen that wheel used before. And I saw that and I thought, I want to do that. I got to come up with some way to give some. I have zero of anything that people want me to give away related. I don't have a lot of, they call them tchotchkes and stuff to do that. But I have a few key rings, but nobody wants a key ring. But anyway, the idea being that I would love to be able to, and I know you can do it through StreamYard. Okay, I'm not going to say your name out loud, though. Thank you for sharing it, though. Thank you for sharing that. Talk about long-winded. Check out the conversation last year I had with Brian at Scrambling Force Food Farms. I don't know. I've seen some of these conversations. Here was it last week when the chili bean versus chili without beans thing? That was my error because I brought up chili and then was asked with beans or without. I think it was Josh that asked me that, and I said, well, either way, really. My hot dog chili has no beans in it, but my chili soup has beans in it. And then that thing went on for hours. I thought, man, oh man, I have really messed up. Um, yeah, Tim was my first interview. He agreed. He was the first one that agreed. I reached out to him. I reached out to um, the Bonds over at Permapasture, and Toolman Tim was the first one to say, "Yeah, I'll do that." So he was my first real interview. Then I did one with a girlfriend of mine that she's just had a really, really interesting life. She's a librarian, but she at one point run one of the most successful free magazines in the state of West Virginia, and we talked for a couple hours. It was a great little interview, and I got another good one coming. Freeze-dried Skittles, I've heard of that, but I would end up eating them. I have self-control to a degree, but I think that would just ruin me. I don't think I could do that. And I'm not sure that there's enough people around here that would buy them. I might be fooling myself, but I'd have to give that some thought. That'd be a lot of freeze-dried candy. I mean, that would really be a lot because those things are a couple grand, aren't they? Those freeze dryers, a good one, as in size wise, because I know there's a couple different sizes you can get. So I was going to do a video. My refrigerator freezer was doing the same thing that Nicole's was doing, and it started back last August. I had a traveling nurse stay in the room, and while she was here, she was using a lot of water and ice, which is not a complaint. It's just that's when the refrigerator freezer started leaking. I don't know if there's a correlation or if it just was going to happen anyway. So I started noticing a little puddle under, and I thought she's spilling ice. But then it would be there when she wasn't here because she'd work like a 12, 15-hour day. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then the bottom drawer of the freezer side of my refrigerator was stuck, and I gave it a pull, and all this ice came out. So what I didn't realize had happened, what I was trying to figure out, but what we found out over the weekend was happening, is the drain plug in the freezer side for the defrost was clogged. What it was clogged with, we never really figured out, other than water, obviously frozen. But why it clogged, we don't know. So I was going to do a video of that. We took everything out of the freezer side. Of course, turned the refrigerator off. Took everything out of the freezer side, and he had the panel off the back before I could get a picture of it. But I was going to do a video on that. The coils weren't froze up, but that drain plug was. So I wanted to use a hairdryer. He went and got his heat gun. I wouldn't use the heat gun. I would have ended up burning the place down. But he got his heat gun and heated it up, and then we syringed with a turkey baster, took up some of the excess water, and he did that a couple more times. We put some hot water down in it because the heat gun was going, but you would end up heating up the plastic of the inside lining of the refrigerator or of the freezer side, and we put some hot water down in there. It started kind of seeping out, so we knew we'd broke through. And he's got a little, I don't know if it's gallons. I want to say 3-gallon air compressor, but it might be a 3-pound air compressor. I don't know. It's just a little old thing about yay big. And he went and grabbed it it's got a little air thing, and he shot some air through it. It sounded like a cow pooping. It just was splat. It was terrible, but that cleared it out. So it hasn't done it since. I'm going to give it a couple weeks before I decide whether we've actually beat that or not, because I didn't notice the buildup of water for a while to begin with. So, but I got a couple shots of the coils and the drain hole with ice in it. So I might be able to piece together a little 30 seconds something. I just don't want to take everything out of the freezer to recreate, all of that, and then take that back off. It's not what I want to do. So Chili with beans recipe. I don't even use a recipe. I don't use a recipe. I've been making chili so long. I don't even know if I could tell you how to make it. It's like pintos. People call that bean soup. I've never called it bean soup. It's always been pinto beans. It's just if you cook pinto beans, it wasn't bean soup, it was pinto beans. I've made chili with almost every type of bean. That taco chili has kidney beans, has navy beans or cannelli beans if you want to use them, and black beans. I put pinto beans in my chili. It just depends on what I have. And honestly, I've used some mild salsa in my chili, a jar of mild salsa. And it just gives it a cute little kick that's just enough for me. I don't like overpowering. You know, these people that like to have these contests with the hot peppers, and no, I don't need all that. I don't mind a little bit of heat that way, but not like some of those kids are eating crazy. So, but I don't write it down anymore. I have a general idea. If I'm doing it all from store bought cans, it's 2 cans of beans, regardless of the type, 2 cans of tomato sauce. Sometimes I'll put 1 can of sauce, 1 can of diced, or 1 can of stewed, just for something different. Couple cans of water, and then some chili seasoning, couple shots of Tabasco. That's just, that's like the base. I like I said, I started adding salsa, and a medium salsa really does. Just 1 jar of medium salsa really, really gives it an interesting little kick. So I do a lot of, along with the B&B, and along with the eggs that I sell, and along with uh, occasionally some bath scrubs and goat milk soap and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of that. It just every now and again I'll make up a batch to have here for people who stay if they want to buy it. I'll sell it. Along with all those little things, I am a notary signing agent. And a notary signing agent is a notary, duh, and you do contract work to help people process their either um, bank loans, refinances, real estate purchases, real estate sales. So, for example, let's say Farm Fresh Acres uh, realtors wants to sell a 40-acre farm for the Smiths, and say, and the finance company is Green Acres. Well, the people who own the 40 acres, the Smiths, are in West Virginia visiting, and the property, let's say, is in Tennessee, since so many folks are down in Tennessee right now. And they call me because I'm on a big list with a company, and they say the Smiths need to sign these forms to sell their acreage to the Joneses, and can you take this signing? So I'll say yes. I've been trained. There's some classes and certifications you got to do, so I've had all that. So they'll email or fax me. Generally, it's email the documents that securely that need to be signed. I'm printing them. I'm taking them. I'm meeting the Smiths wherever they are, and they're signing stuff. I'm showing them what they have to sign. Ideally, they've already been told what's going on, so I don't have to spend a lot of time with them. But what ends up happening is they haven't read anything, so they read it. So I'm there for a couple hours. Some of the stuff has to be notarized. I'm the notary, so I'm notarizing it. I'm bonded, I'm background checked, and all of these things so that I am a trustworthy person to do this work. It can be good money. It can be money. It depends on the amount of time it takes and in your travel. So I'm a contractor that way. Well, I have to have my notary commission. My notary commission expired back in December. I went through my Secretary of State's office like you're supposed to, got that taken care of, worked through National Notary Association, which I'm a member, to get a new stamp because the stamp is no good after it expires, your commission expires. Well, it never came and it never came. And so after a couple of weeks, because it should have come quickly, I paid to have it expedited. But it was a holiday, so I gave them a few extra days and I called. Oh, the box that we shipped it to you in came back to us empty. I said, well, what does that mean? And in a nutshell, it means that the box came open, whether purposely or by accident. The notary stamp was missing. And so they shipped the box back to the company who made the stamp. This is a big deal because fraud related to real estate and bank uh, finances is a big hairy thing happening out there in the real world. I had to notify my Secretary of State that the stamp had been stolen and that I was getting a replacement. The replacement should have been here a week ago. So I called yesterday and I said, "What's going on?" "Oh, it's at the post office in South Charleston." I said, "It shouldn't be at the post office in South Charleston. I'm nowhere near South Charleston." The guy said, "Oh, well, maybe it's the hub, but it'll be there in a couple of days." It left here on Saturday. Or no, it was reported it was scanned in at South Charleston on Saturday. I said, if it was, no, wait a minute. I paid for expedited shipping. Where did you say it is? Oh, it's at the post office. No. If you go back to my original order, I paid to have that shipped by UPS, ground delivery. Oh. I said, if it was sent by US Postal Service, somebody owes me some money back. And in the meantime, this is what was yesterday, the 23rd of January. If I cut you a break for New Year's Day, it's been 22 days this year that I've not been able to work because I don't have my stamp. So the young man decided to take a different approach. And he said, "Oh, hold on," because he was being very smug when I was talking to him. "Oh, it's on its way. Don't worry about it. It's on its way." I'm like, this is a big deal. "Oh, yeah, no, it's okay. It's on its way." So if it's not here, today's Tuesday, if it's not here tomorrow afternoon, because I have Bible study in the morning, I'll be calling them again and I will harass them every day until it arrives. It is a big, hairy deal for that stamp to be gone. That stamp can make a document a legal document. That stamp, it has my name on it, so someone would be forging my signature. But unless it was challenged in court, somebody could take that stamp, forge my signature on real estate documents, and steal somebody's property or anything that needs to be notarized. So I'm really upset. Plus, I can't work. I can't work without it. Read about your upcycling. One of my high school classmates in California was sewing for an upcycling startup out in Oregon or Washington. My sister in Los Angeles is a notary for real estate. Yeah, it's your sister could yeah, your sister, ask her what happens if a stamp's lost. It is a big, big deal. The upcycling, I actually have a book out. It's on Amazon. It's kind of a print on demand thing. On upcycling. It's look, I can't remember the name of the book I wrote. Anyway, it's on there. I did it several years ago. I did a column for well, the girl that I told you, the woman that I told you had the very successful magazine, and that I interviewed, Lisa. Um, I used to write a column for her once a month for her, an upcycling column for her, and there it is. Lord have mercy. You would think I'd remember the name of my own book. It's Everyday Upcycling, and I took those columns and put them together in a book. Everyday upcycling. Upcycling. I can't even spell. Anyway. See how that works. Ow, that's ugly. It didn't shorten it anyway. Oh, Robin, I'm just clicking all kinds of dumb stuff. An error occurred. Wait a moment. So I did. I did a little bit of all kinds of stuff. The basic, shelves from or cabinets into uh, bookshelves and bed frames into benches, and I just did all kinds of stuff with that. Took my own pictures for it. Can't. Why won't they go away? That one won't go away. Why is it? Oh, I see what it is. It's like 3. Oh, never mind. Um, yeah, you found it before I did. Isn't it awful that I'm? But it's been so long ago that I wrote it. I mean, it was like I don't know how many years ago, 6 years ago or more. And I just it it wasn't a world's bestseller, so but that's okay. I've written a couple books. I've done a couple cookbooks now and a nursery rhyme book, and I I enjoy it, but it's kind of like if I don't get it done right now, then I forget. I'm way off. So let's see. Oh, let me do this as a reminder, and I'm working on that. Trying to get rid of that. For the BNB, February is my birthday month, and so I have a 10% off discount code for people who are traveling who decide to stay here, and that promo code is BD10. But you can only use it as a direct book. You can't use it with Airbnb. Airbnb is more expensive automatically than direct booking. And I always encourage people to direct book. And you would go to robinholstein.com, go to the menu and find Holstein House and go from there. In addition, we do have a special for Hall's Chocolate and Coal River Coffee. So Hall's Chocolate is a Swiss style chocolate made here in West Virginia, made in Parkersburg. And Coal River Coffee is a lot like Nicole's sauces, only it is roasted just a few miles from me. It's a local company, and I have I buy the straight beans and then I grind. I have a hand grinder. I grind them fresh for guests when they stay. So it's not just that it's local; it's fresh ground local. If they want it, they don't have to have it. I also have a Keurig set up, and so it's no big deal. We can do that. So if you're coming through West Virginia, now I'm just off. I say just off the turnpike. I mean, it's not like a block. It's a little ways off, but I'm just off the turnpike, near the Shillian exit. So if you're coming up from Virginia, it'll be just past the Shillian exit or the Shillian toll booth, and then you'll exit and you'll see the address and everything at the website. If you're coming down towards Virginia on the West Virginia Turnpike before you get to the Shillian exit, you can either exit at Bell and come up US Route 60. It's a 4-lane, but it's the old road that goes down into Virginia. It used to be the only way you could travel to get to Virginia, to go to Virginia Beach. It takes you through some of the most beautiful, and some of the more distressed areas on US Route 60, also known as the Midland Trail. So if you're doing some sightseeing and traveling to look at some of the old things, then it's not Route 66, but it's kind of close. It's a fun little drive through the back parts of West Virginia and some of our historic areas. But also, if you're just coming through and you just need a place to stay, if you're going now, I only have the one room right now. I've got a building I'm trying to get ready for. I'd like to have it done by July 4th. I really would. I don't know if I can get it done by then or not. To have an extra spot so that, like, if you were going down to the SRF and you needed a spot to stay on the way, I have a room. So let's see. We're coming up on 10 minutes till I'm going to start winding it down a little bit. I will tell you this, my next guest, and like I said, we're going to try to firm up that date by the end of the week, is Stan Bumgardner. And Stan is a local fiddle legend. He is just a fiddle player extraordinaire and a West Virginia historian. I've known him for a little over 20 years. I met him when I was dating my husband, and Stan was playing fiddle in the band, my husband's band, Rockin' Horse. He's worked for the West Virginia Division of Culture and History. From 2015 to this past December, he was the editor of Golden Seal magazine. It's a wonderful magazine on some of the history and culture of West Virginia, and I am subscribed to it, and we keep a copy of it in our guest room. He now works for the Humanities Council, but he's if he's not the best, he's one of the best fiddle players in West Virginia, and I'm going to have him in February. So, sports ball. I didn't watch sports ball yesterday. I don't know who's supposed to be playing in the playoffs this weekend. I think Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's in it. If Cincinnati's in it, I'm pretty much having to root for Cincinnati. I can't remember who Wayne said now. But I'm pretty sure Cincinnati's in the playoffs. Chocolate and coffee, winner, winner, chicken dinner. You got it, buddy. Especially for breakfast. Now, I've got the chocolates. Of course, they're not in the room right now because there's nobody in there. But I'll put, they'll go in the room right before when the guests come. I have even done When They Fiddler on the Roof. He could probably, honestly, Stan is this good. Stan could, if Charlie Daniels was still living, it would be very close. Very close. And Stan might have the edge because he's younger. But he is amazing. Amazing. NFL, we kind of stopped watching, and I touched on this in one of the other episodes when they started with all that kneeling BS. I mean, you can protest whatever you want to protest. You can believe whatever you want to believe. But, what was happening there is they were taking their audience and the fans hostage to force an opinion on them. And they may be right with their opinion. They may be wrong with their opinion. But they were taking everyone hostage with that, in my opinion. And I just was disgusted with it. So we stopped watching it during that. We might click over and catch the last part of a game, but we stopped watching it during that period, and it broke the cycle, so we don't even think about it half the time. It used to be we always watched NASCAR during the season from the Daytona forward almost every weekend, and except road races. I hate road races. And then we would watch football, and then we would mope around and in between because there's a gap between them. But I stopped watching NASCAR when they really started forcing all of these changes to where all the cars look exactly alike and they're all within this much and all the engines have to be the same. And they started that switching directions to give everybody a chance. And, it just got to be stupid. It just got to be stupid. There's no point in a race if everybody's racing identical vehicles. Don't care. Don't care. Don't watch it. Don't care. So I think the last season I watched to amount to anything was Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s first year. I think it's the first year. And then I said, okay, I've watched enough. Don't care. So, well, let's see. I usually touch a little bit on what's going on at the church. We're still in between pastors. We're still trying to keep our head up. I'm still doing the service. We have started a Bible study. This is our third Wednesday. It's called Bibles and Brunch. We meet at 10 o'clock, and we're going through a couple different Bible study series to try to build that up a little bit. And we're going to reach out for a grant from the United Methodist Church in West Virginia for some funds, if they grant it, for some funds to do a weekly free dinner here in the community. The problem I have with that is manpower. I don't have enough manpower to do it. Every week, and I know that a large portion of it would fall on me, and I don't know that I can carry all of that. So I'm trying to figure that out. If we can get some of the students from the high school, the problem, because they would get volunteer service credits. The problem with that is I'd either have to do it on Saturdays or figure out how to get them here through the week, if they can do it through the week. And if we had to do it on the weekend, I think I just don't know that I can do it, because I've just got so much going on. We have been doing our Sunday service on starting over stories from the scriptures. We've talked about Ruth and Naomi going to Moab, losing her husband, losing her children, having to go back, trying to start over there. Transitioning between church faith communities. I can appreciate that, and I'm glad you are at least still involved. There are some changes in the Methodist Church that I'm not comfortable with at the global level. I pray about it a lot, because this particular church is the church that I was baptized in, I was raised in from the day I come home from the hospital as a newborn. My grandparents helped build the church spiritually, financially, and physically. My grandfather helped do some of the work on the church. I mean, not like, massive amounts, but the whole community came together to help build the church, and he was part of that community. And so many of our people have passed on and moved out, and those before the Rona came and the lockdowns happened, there was not a plan to grow the church. And so what ended up happening is we locked down. I pled with the pastor we had at the time. And not that I had to plead much, but I had to convince him that he could do it, do the live stream. And he said, okay, we can do this. And so he would do the live stream. A lot of the congregation got used to that, didn't physically come back to the building, stopped sending in their financial support. That pastor had to take retirement because he developed a cancer and is in long-term treatment. The pastor that replaced him is a senior citizen. They assigned him a couple different churches, our church and a different church. He's not able to do both. So they pulled him from our church, and I've been picking up the slack because I took the classes to try to help. And I'm fighting to keep the church open and to try to get more people in. If it fails, it fails, but it's not going to fail because I sat back and said, I can't do this. I have to try. So I hope you will find a place to settle, because it's important. One of the things that I'm struggling with is the attitude that you don't need to physically be in a building to worship. And you don't, but you do. We are commanded through Scripture to come together, Old Testament and New Testament. And we need that fellowship to help support each other and to help pull us back onto the path when we've fallen off. Because sometimes we do stuff that we think is okay. But if we hear from a more experienced Christian, we may find out, you know what, that may not be right. That may not be right. So it helps us come back and get back on the right path. It's kind of like dieting. You think, oh, it's okay. All these people are on the carnivore diet. Oh, it's okay. I'm a carnivore, but I can eat mashed potatoes. Maybe not. So if you aren't staying in touch with people, you may not know that. Or back when Dr. Adkins was first promoting the Adkins diet lifestyle, um, he had a very strict menu. Well, then they expanded that a little bit. So they studied and figured out, well, you can add these, you know, and then some of them you have to take away, because when you say, when I eat this, this happens. Well, don't eat that anymore. So we need the support of community, and we're commanded to come together and to worship the Lord. So that, like I said, pardon me again, that's, like I said, one of the things that I'm struggling with is that, yeah, we're right there too. I'm 57. But couples busy raising families. Our grandparents were busy raising families too. And some of our grandparents were busy on the farm raising families, and they still found a way to get there. And we've allowed ourselves as a society, as a world, to put things ahead of church. When my sons were young and they were interested in Little League football, they only were there a couple years and they lost interest in it. But, they would have football games on Sundays. And in order for the boys to be there on time, we had to miss church. Well, no, that shouldn't be that way. We should be going to church and then going to the ball game if we're going to go. So we've messed up our priorities over the decades, and we're paying that price. My burden, and it's not a negative burden, it's a positive burden, even with all the issues and struggles, is that if the church isn't open, people can't come. And people who need salvation don't necessarily need it at prearranged times. So if the building's not available, and what we were facing was we had one member say, well, we'll just close the church until they can find us a pastor. Well, no, people need it. If the doors of the church aren't open, if they don't think they can come, what are we doing? And the Great Commission Christ instructs us to spread the gospel. And I just feel like we have to do that. It's a long conversation. I usually just kind of touch on it a little bit here and there because I could spend hours doing this. We talked about Ruth and Naomi. We talked about Moses and he was 120 when he passed away. He spent 40 years as a prince of Egypt before he killed an Egyptian and spent 40 years in the desert. Now, he didn't spend 40 years in the desert alone and barely clinging to life. That included his time in Midian and his marriage and the birth of his children and everything, up until the point that he, comes to the mountain and is tasked by the Lord to lead the children of God out of Egypt. And then he spends another 40 years leading them, not just from Egypt, but leading them spiritually and getting them to the promised land. And sometimes it takes a while. So he had to start over. So that's been the theme. He had to start over. He did something terrible and he had to start over. Naomi didn't do something terrible, but she had terrible things happen and she was bitter and she had to start over. Last Sunday, we talked about David and Bathsheba. David committed adultery and then he had someone killed. And he had to come back to God, and then he did great things. So we talk about, we've been talking about how even if you've done something really bad, if you're sincere in your repentance. Now people will say stuff all day long, but if you're sincere in your repentance, the Lord will forgive you. you may still yet have to face punishment, because in David's case, he lost his firstborn son. God took his son, and he told him he was going to sent the priest to him and told him that he was going to, the price to pay for what he did was his firstborn son, because a lot was expected of David from the day of his birth. So this was no light thing, light matter. Up here in our town, the big churches were closed, but the small ones. Our physical building was closed because the pastor felt compelled to, because we had the option through live streaming on Facebook, he was compelled to abide by the demands of the bishop and close the doors. We fought it a long time. There were a lot of churches that closed way before we did, but in the end, he ended up closing the doors. But we still had the services, like I said, live streaming, and we were I won't say we were one of the first in the nation to do that, but in this general vicinity, we were one of the first to do that during the lockdowns. But David was able to recover, and he was able to build back trust of God, and he became a great leader, even with the terrible things that he did. So being able to start over is a theme in the life not of the Christian. We are granted this opportunity to start over, and that's one of the things we've been talking about at the church. And the Bible study has been actually on Christian fellowship. So that's and the need for fellowship. And of course, this will only be our 4th out of 6 weeks in the study, but we'll be studying a little more on betrayal, friends who betray you, and how to recover from things like that. So it's we're trying really hard to keep the church open, and there's a couple things, like I said, that I want to do, but I just don't have the manpower, and I'm still praying about that. So hopefully the Lord will answer us in the affirmative and send us the bodies to help get the work done that we need, because I think we need something more in this community, and I think our church is in a good position to do it if we can get the people to do it. So I'm going to wrap up now for episode 31 of the Holstein House podcast and my YouTube live. Twice Holstein House was in the top 50 for Fountain FM network charts. It didn't last very long. It was like just for a day or so, but we were there. I've got the screenshots to prove it. I love all of you guys for helping me achieve that. And I appreciate all the new folks and the new comments and folks that are subscribing to the YouTube and to the podcasts. It's a lot of fun so far. If you're still awake, because I have a couple of friends over there on Fountain that tell me honestly, and that's okay, that they will often nod off while I'm talking. I don't know if it's because I'm so boring or if it's just because I have that voice that will put people to sleep, an NPR voice from time to time. But I like to acknowledge some of those that have shared Satoshis over on Fountain. I've got HJ, who is one of the originals and a long-term supporter of my podcast over on Fountain, the Holstein House podcast. He nods off from time to time, but he has supported me since the last time. Fountain has made some changes, and so I've had a little trouble catching up with everybody that's provided support. But he's given 350 and 500 towards my first million Satoshis. So for those of you who didn't know, I said I wanted to reach 1 million Satoshis by my birthday, and he's given me a little bit of that, because Satoshis aren't that much really towards that. Euphrosynos has donated a total of 2,299 Satoshis, and user number, here we go again with these user numbers. You guys, come on, get a name. 1311388873691966. gave 459 Satoshis. Your continued support while I stumble my way through this is greatly appreciated. We premiered the podcast on Fountain Network. If you found me over there, I hope you'll boost and clip and share with all your friends. And if you're following me on Facebook or YouTube, I hope you will like and subscribe and share that as well. Please post your comments. I do appreciate those too. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Tell me what you'd like to hear more of. Be great. Poke those algorithms and follow me on all the big social media platforms. And with that, we'll wrap it up. And thank you, Philippine Nomad, for hanging out with me today. Ever so often, we do get a couple of good ones in there. Sling them sats and share the love. Yeah, heck yeah. Because if the more you give me, the more I can share out there too. But we will see you probably again on Friday for an unscripted. Unscripted Friday is kind of becoming a thing. You know, my dad just before I shut it completely down, Dad comes over every Friday, or if the weather's bad, I go over there. But around noon, because he has to have a little finger stick blood test for his one of his medication levels. So we get in there and we get to talking, and some of the things I'm going to start recording him and playing some of that because Dad's got some wisdom there. But so I'm here is the bigger point, is I'm usually here. So about 10 o'clock on Friday, we'll do an unscripted and see what happens, see who all comes in. Maybe we'll do the beans with, or the chili with or without beans. It's kind of getting old because, you know, they're beating that to death over on the Telegram. We'll come up with a different one, and we'll do that. And maybe we'll come up with some kind of giveaway of some sort, like Lots Project did. That'd be fun. I'd have to set the goal, and we'll have to think that through. A little bit. But we're going to go for now. Thank you so much. You have an unbelievable week too, Philippine Nomad, and we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.